Hi, I'm going to be looking at the effective field goal percentage, which is somewhat of an advanced NBA stat that's used to track shooting. And really, I have this definition. I'll put a link for where I got this in the description. But it's just a metric, as it says, and adjusts for the fact that even though someone may have a worse field goal percentage, really, field goal percentage is only going to take into account the field goals made over field goals attempted. So that can be a little misleading because if one player took only 2-point baskets and another player took 3-point baskets, the player who took the 3-point baskets may have a worse field goal percentage, but they may have contributed more points. So the effective field goal percentage takes that into account. And so here we have the equation for effective field goal percentage, and I just want to break that down and see kind of what that looks like. Okay, so we have the effective field goal percent equals field goals made plus 0.5 times 3-pointers made all over field goals attempted. And this is actually the same as the true shooting percentage, except the true shooting takes into account free throws attempted and free throws made. This only takes into account field goals made and field goals attempted, not free throws. True shooting does both, and some people prefer true shooting for that reason. Okay, and you look at this, you have field goals made plus 0.5 times 3-pointers made. And the reason for this 0.5 times the 3-pointers made, remember, obviously a 2-pointer is worth 2 points, and a 3-pointer is worth 3 points. So 2 times 1.5 equals 3. In other words, they're just counting every field goal made here, regardless of whether it's a 2 or a 3, and they're saying, well, it's really another 50% or 0.5 for each of the 3-pointers made, so you add that on as well. So they also could have written it as, instead of that, if they wanted to, they could have put 2-point field goals made plus 1.5 times 3-point field goals made. And really, they just did it, instead of doing this 1.5 times the 3-point field goals made, they just said, okay, let's call every field goal made, lump it all together, and then just add 0.5 for all the 3-point field goals made. So I think that makes pretty good sense. But anyhow, let's look at a couple examples. So let's look at the example. I'll get a new color here. Let's just look at a player who made, you can see right away, if they made all 2s, so let's say they made 10 2s, then they say they went 10 of 10 on 2s, then their effective field goal percentage would be equal to, so field goals made, they made 10, plus 0.5 times 3-pointers made. Well, they didn't make any 3-pointers, so that would be 0. Over field goals attempted, they attempted 10. So then they have 10 divided by 10 equals 1, or 100%. Okay, and that should make sense. They made 100% of their shots, but here's where it can be a little tricky potentially. So now let's say they went 10 of 10 on 3s. Then their effective field goal percentage would be field goals made. They had 10 field goals made, but they had also 10 threes. So plus this 0.5 times they had 10 3-pointers made divided by 10 equals. So this is 10 plus 0.5 times 10 is 5 all over 10. So that equals 15 over 10. That equals 1.5. And that's the same as 150%. Just multiplying here and here, I did just multiplied by 100%. So you can see someone's their effective field goal percentage is much better if they're hitting threes, because a 3 is worth 1.5 times as many points as a 2. Now let's look at the case. Let's say someone hit some of both, some 2s and some 3s. So let's look at someone, let's say, went 12 of 25 from the field. And let's say they hit 8 2s for 16 points. And then that would be 4 3s. 4 3s, and that'd be another 12 points. And I guess the points don't matter in this formula, they just do it on made field goals and made 3-point field goals. But in any case, their effective field goal percentage then, and I can tell right now, their field goal percentage in this case would be 48%. But their effective, so just their field goal percentage would just be 12 over 25 equals 0.48 or 48%. Compare that though, because that didn't take into account the fact that they hit several threes. So their effective field goal percentage would be, they made a total of, down here we had 8 and 4, they made a total of 12 field goals. So they made 12 field goals made, I'm just using this equation up here, plus 0.5 times 3-pointers made. Well, we said they made 4 3-pointers, so times 4, divided by, how many field goals did they attempt? That was here. This is the 25 field goals attempted. So this equals 12 plus 0.5 times 4 is 2. Half of 4 is 2. Divided by 25. This equals 14 divided by 25. This equals, let me grab the calculator here, 14 divided by 25 is 0.56. So now 0.56, and that's the same as 56%. So that's 8% better than what just their field goal percentage would be. Now that kind of gives you an idea of how effective field goal percentage works and how much a 3-point shot can help versus 2-pointer made. Anyway, I hope you learned something and hope to see you next time.